Hi everyone and welcome to Boost News. My name is Paige and thank you for joining us. Coming up for you today, we'll discuss women in combat roles, the Sea Shepherd's latest attacks against whaling, and the changing views of tattoos in society. Joining me for this jam-packed episode, we have Anjali and Jess. How are you going?
Yeah, good. And yourself?
How was your weekend?
Yeah, good. I must say, I've become a bit of a fan of the World Cup, and been quite
James
enjoying the
O'Connor's
games.
kick was amazing.
Yep.
And I've got Dominique and Georgia.
Hi.
How was your weekend?
Good. Jess, Georgia over there. But yeah,
You
no,
both got
it was
dark
good.
hair.
We've both got dark hair. But it's all right. I went water skiing and got sunburnt, but don't do that. Slip, slop, slap all the time. But yeah, it was fun.
That's good. Before we launch into our main discussion points, Georgia has the latest headlines.
Thanks, Paige, and hi everyone. A 14-year-old boy has been arrested in Bali after being caught carrying a small amount of marijuana. The boy is facing up to 20 years in prison if found guilty. The Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs, Kevin Rudd, has warned there are no guarantees of an early release.
Is he crying in the press, is he?
Of course. Yeah, because it is the first time for him, to be arrested.
Is he distressed inside? Is he distressed?
Yeah, he's very stressed.
Apple's former CEO, Steve Jobs, has died at the age of 56. After suffering from pancreatic cancer for many years, the company's visionary died on Wednesday. Following his death, Apple announced in a press release they were deeply saddened with his passing. His death sparked a huge online reaction, with millions flocking to the internet to mourn the loss of one of the world's most influential men. A 10-year-old girl living in Kingscliff, south of the Gold Coast, was a victim of an attempted abduction at about 6:30 p.m. yesterday. The man, who was described as being about 40 years old, spoke to the girl before trying to coerce her into his car. The girl became concerned with her safety and ran inside to her mother, who then contacted the police. Anyone who has information should contact Crime Stoppers immediately. To sport now, and the nail-biting finish in yesterday's Bathurst 1000. Garth Tander took the top spot over Craig Lowndes. After 161 laps, Tander pipped his fellow teammate by just under a second. This is now Tander's third win at the Bathurst 1000. The V8 supercars will resume in Queensland for the Gold Coast 600 later this month. In last night's World Cup game, the Wallabies were victorious against South Africa 11-9. James Hall scored the only try just before James O'Connor kicked the winning penalty goal. The Wallabies are now set to play in the semi-finals this weekend against the All Blacks. Go Australia. Back to you, Paige.
Thanks for that, Georgia. Well, first up today, we're discussing the historic decision by the Gillard government to allow women to apply for the most dangerous and demanding military jobs. Here's a quick video with the details.
The 8,000 women in Australia's Defence Force already play many frontline roles. Now combat gender discrimination will end.
All of the roles on the front line will be determined on the basis of merit, not on the basis of sex.
Not everyone in the ranks is hollering for joy.
There are attributes to the physical elements that men have that women will never have.
She fears men will die protecting women soldiers.
They tend to react differently, and you can see sometimes they get distracted.
This program has the very strong support of the Chief of the Defence Force and the Vice Chief.
Why, for example, he says should the best shot in a platoon be barred from a sniper role in Afghanistan. And now women will be eligible one day to be Defence Chief.
The Coalition certainly supports opening all roles within the Defence Force up to women.
Combat roles won't be compulsory. Minister's confident many women will jump at the chance. Paul Bongiorno, 10 News.
Well, Georgia, some women are just as fit and as strong as the men, so do you think they deserve to be in the front line?
Absolutely. I think because it's a choice thing, they're not going to be forced in to do it if they're only 10 kilos and can't even carry a plate of bread. I mean, they're going to be choosing if they want to participate, and if they're trained just as well as the male soldiers are, then why shouldn't they?
Yeah.
What do you think, Anjali?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I think it's important to note that other countries do have similar policies. For example, Canada, Israel, and even New Zealand. So, I mean, if those countries can do it, why can't ours?
Exactly. And Dominic, if the Taliban say capture a female soldier, she's then victim to, you know, torture and rape. So it is extremely dangerous. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, torture is a potential problem, you know, when you do put your life on the line to serve your country. But I don't think we should look at rape as being exclusive to females. I think that rape can be happening with men and women in the army. But I think that, you know, we don't need to be looking at the front line as a new concept. Women, as Anjali was saying, have been serving in Canada since the First World War. They currently serve in New Zealand, and it's compulsory for women in Israel to serve their country. So I think there are a lot of issues, but there are strict tests, and they, you know, to ensure the physical and psychological requirements of these women. And if they can pass the test, then I think it's a good equal rights movement, and they should be allowed to serve in the same way that men can.
And Jess, what do you think about this?
I suppose I don't particularly agree with the whole motion of allowing women to fight on the front line. Already in Australia, 93% of defence jobs were open to women, and it's only now that they've opened up that last percentage for women. You know, I suppose I say that because I think that there are always physical attributes that men will have alone that women will never have. But in saying that, there are some jobs, like in the Navy, what is it called? Clearance diving. It's a really strenuous psychological and physical training that the men have to go through, now the women have to go through to actually be able to do that job. They would have like 20 men training, and maybe only 4 people would get through because it's so strenuous and really demanding. And if women can get through that training and they can, you know, do everything that they can, why not? I suppose that they're just as capable as the men to do those jobs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and say for example, a male soldier was shot beside, you know, a female, and they have to carry them. Like there's the Victorian Cross medal winner, Ben Roberts-Smith, as we can see here in the picture, he's a large man, 204 centimetres. Imagine a girl trying to carry him across her shoulder.
I'd be happy to carry him, to be honest. But obviously, in all seriousness, if they're being trained to do those sorts of things, they've got to know how to do it. So
there are some pretty strong men out there. I mean, we're not very good examples.
No.
Maybe some of the women are, they are capable of doing that, and they would have had to prove that they can lift people of that weight in order to get the job in the first spot.
Exactly. Well, it is a complex issue, but unfortunately we have to take a break. We'll be right back. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Boost News. Well, for the past 8 years we have watched the courageous efforts of the Sea Shepherd organisation as they fight whaling. Sea Shepherd leader Captain Paul Watson has in the last week announced the commencement of Operation Divine Wind. This season's plan is to combat Japanese whaling ships in the Southern Ocean. The operation coincides with the annual dolphin slaughter in Taiji, Japan, where 20,000 dolphins are slaughtered over 6 months. Here is a short video of what the Sea Shepherds do.
Save our oceans to preserve our own selves. If the oceans die, we die. In order to save the whales, people have to be willing to risk their life. If they attack me, I'm going to respond. I'm not backing down to them in any way.
Hold on. We have to get in there now.
We've already put a tracking device on one of the boats. So wherever that boat moves into, we'll be able to follow it. We're going to shut them down immediately.
Well, Georgia, do you think Australia is doing enough to combat whaling?
No way. Look, these people are doing an amazing job. They are putting their lives on the line because the government won't. And I think it's absolutely disgusting that we are not doing anything more about it. It's such a huge issue that we know. And you know, Australia is giving Japan money for their tsunami relief and things like that. And once they've got that money, they're free to do what they will with it. So if they're going to put it towards killing all the whales, then we should be taking that money back.
It is an insult, isn't it? It's anti-whaling nations that are actually giving them the money, and they're using that for whaling.
Exactly.
So, Anjali, what do you think?
Yeah, no, it's pretty disappointing. I think in regards to whether or not the government can be doing more, I think yes, they can be doing more, and if they can't necessarily do it on the international level in regards to like pressuring the Japanese, they could be doing it by promoting organisations like Greenpeace and the Sea Shepherd and creating awareness and giving these modern day heroes money.
Why doesn't the funding that we're giving to Japan and stuff, if they're going to be using it for things like that, why don't we give it to the Sea Shepherds or the Greenpeace?
Exactly. And Dominique, do you think that Japan should be allowed to whale for scientific reasons?
Well, I think as long as the International Whaling Commission allows them, gives them permission to whale, that's always going to be there. And until there is a shift of consciousness, for example, it was only up until the 50s that Australia and other Western nations that were actually whaling also. And countries such as Iceland, Greenland and Norway still have permission to whale, but it's only been since up to '94 that they've stopped, and now Japan is the only country doing it. But there's this protection for whales and that. There are a lot of other species such as dolphins and closer to home sharks. For example, in Taiji in Japan, up to 20,000 dolphins are being slaughtered, lured into a cove and slaughtered. And the thing is with dolphins, because they're a larger fish, you can't actually consume them for food purposes. So they're being slaughtered. The more attractive ones are being sort of taken into captivity and sold, but the other ones are just being slaughtered for fertilizer.
And Jess, what do you think about it?
I think it's absolutely atrocious. It's disgusting the way that we can't do enough and our government can't do enough to stop whaling. And, international waters, blah, 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 like it's just political guidelines, and it's really unfair that these animals are suffering because of human politics. Look at that picture on the screen. Those are the dolphins that have been coerced into the cove. They've been brutally massacred because they're not, good looking enough to be show dolphins. And who's to say that they're not good looking dolphins? I don't know what a good looking dolphin is, but it's not the point. It's inhumane, and there's no need to do that. Like, why couldn't they just let them go?
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary slaughter.
It's totally unnecessary.
But the point you make about politics, I think that's key.
Well, yeah, and it just disheartens me that there are actually people out there who will do that sort of things and will slaughter the animals in the way that they are.
And there are nations being bought out which are allowing the slaughter to continue.
Yeah, exactly. It's disgusting, and I really hope that Australian government will actually do something more about this. But not only that, I hope that all of the other countries will band together and do something more.
Well, and people like you and I mean, we can all support the Sea Shepherd and Greenpeace and stuff. I mean, we can raise awareness even by spreading the word. It's just it's an awesome thing to do.
Well, we could go on about our opinions all day on this complex issue, but we do have to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Boost News. So what does everybody think about tattoos? In the past, we've associated tattoos with the likes of criminals and bikie gangs, though now it seems you either know someone with a tattoo or you have one yourself. So have tattoos become an accepted part of society? Georgia, what do you think about tattoos?
Absolutely. I mean, I like them. I think if you've got a good tattoo, if they're nice, then they look great. I have a lot of tattooist friends, and they're all artists. They're not just, they're very talented people, and if they're doing nice art, then yeah, it looks beautiful. It's an art form.
And considering every second person has one now, do you think that employers should be a bit more accepting?
Yeah, well, I think that there is still a bit of a stigma that's permeating into our culture, but as body art becomes more mainstream, I think we move away from this idea of tattoos and their original association with deviance and criminality. Originally, it was only convicts, criminals and sailors that were getting tattoos, but in today's society, more and more women are getting tattoos, and it's becoming more commonplace. So we look at, the pin-up culture, lots of women are getting the Vargas girls, famous Vargas girl illustrations tattooed on them. So I think it's becoming more of an art form and less of that negative connotation with criminal stereotypes.
Well, like those images we just saw on the screen, some of those are really beautiful. I could never go through the pain of that massive needle jamming into me. But some of them are gorgeous. I mean, personally, I like clear skin,
the image you're seeing right now, no. It's not attractive. And if I was an employer, no way would I ever employ someone
from a girl's point of
tattoos
view,
like that.
Not attractive at all.
And like the Southern Cross, oh my God, how many thousand million people have the damn Southern Cross on there?
It's so annoying.
It's not even completely Australian. It's on 100 flags in the world. Oh my God.
Do you think it is a good way for them to show their patriotism
it's
for
terrible.
Australia?
Well, if you're
it intrigues me.
Well, it's not necessarily for Australia. It's for the Southern Hemisphere.
Get the Union Jack on you too. That's on the flag. You might look British, but that's all right. It's on the flag. It'll do.
Well, I suppose they've branded themselves because there is such a large market in Australia that want the Southern Cross tattoo because, you know,
they're silly.
That's what intrigues me though.
They're the tattoo jocks and they, you know...
They're not the jocks, they're the rims. Nah.
Yeah, but tattoos are supposed to be such an individual choice, but it becomes such a, you conform to this sort of stigma. You know, the types of tattoos people are getting, the Southern Cross, the, they call...
Tramp stamps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of this whole individuality has become like a new form of conformance. Like,
They try and be individual. It's like the whole goth thing that everyone... You're trying to be individual, but you're just conforming to the same thing.
Exactly.
I mean, I really like tattoos if they're done really well and
that actually have some
classy.
meaning behind
Exactly.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between cultural tattoos.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a big difference between cultural tattoos and just say, oh, Homer Simpson, or I've got a naked girl on this arm. So there is a big difference.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Yeah, that needs to
think about your choices, people.
It's also,
you might regret it later.
It's also advertising gone wild as well, you know.
Olympic athletes.
Yeah, Georgia, what were you saying about the Nando's thing earlier?
Oh, one of my friends has, he's covered in tattoos head to toe, but he's got a little Nando's symbol on his ribs. And so whenever he goes into Nando's, he just gets free food all the time. And they told him.
Olympic athletes are actually auctioning off parts of their body for the Olympics with sponsors. So
that's ridiculous.
It's too far. You think it's too far?
You're just a walking advertisement. Yeah. Why would you give part of your body
selling
to
off your flesh
forever?
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah.
So don't get messy tattoos.
Okay, well that's all we have time for this week on Boost News. If you have a view on any of the issues we've discussed today, make sure you hop onto YouTube and leave a comment at Broadcast Griffith. From all of us here on the show, thank you for watching, and we'll be back here next week for our final episode. So until then, goodbye.